All right, every week since we started the primary election season, we've been featuring here on Washington Watch a segment that highlights news and issues related specifically to election integrity. And this week, we're going to be hitting on this topic every day. And part of that is to mark the release of my new book titled Sacred Trust: Election Integrity and the Will of the People. This highlights a lot of issues on election integrity that I was very much involved with while in Congress and beyond. And I urge you to get your copy right away. But in light of the overall issue of election integrity, last Wednesday, a federal appeals court in Pennsylvania ruled in favor of an election integrity lawsuit regarding signature verification for mail-in voting in Pennsylvania. But on the very same day, Montana's highest court struck down 4 laws in that state's Republican-led legislature that passed back in 2021. So the question is, what effect will all of these different directions of election integrity have as it relates to this coming November's elections? And what more can be done to increase election integrity? Was part of our ongoing series looking into election integrity this year, I've invited Honest Elections Project Vice President Chad Ennis to discuss these 2 rulings today in particular. So, Chad, welcome back to Washington Watch. Great to have you.
Hey, great to be back. And congratulations on the book, Jody. That's impressive.
Hey, well, thank you. Thank you so much. Looking forward to it finally getting here and being released tomorrow. But listen, you're an expert on this. Let's begin with Pennsylvania. Tell us about the lawsuit in Pennsylvania and the ruling that took place.
So in Pennsylvania, the left was using their new play toy, the materiality clause of the Civil Rights Act, in order to get rid of the just common sense election procedures. And in this case, it was having to date your mail-in ballot. They said, nope, if you don't date your mail-in ballot, it's just fine. We'll count it anyway. And what they're using is the materiality clause, which of the Civil Rights Act, which was something that was really necessary back in the 60s when folks were rejecting voter registrations for mistakes of just minor things. And for instance, they'd have you calculate your birthday to the day and say how many days old you were. And if you screwed that up, they wouldn't register to vote. But it was meant to be a law that affects that kind of thing, registration. And the left has taken it and extended it to any paperwork error in filing your ballot or casting your ballot and saying, no, that the Civil Rights Act actually applies to that as well. And thankfully here, the court in Pennsylvania said, no, sanity prevails, and that's not how the law should work.
Well, I would think that would certainly help with confidence of the voters on election integrity. The whole signature verification is a big deal. But then we move over several states, and the same day last week, we had a bad ruling, quite frankly, coming out of Montana's Supreme Court. Tell us about that.
Yeah, really bad ruling in Montana. And what the left's other tactic is, there's a materiality provision of the Civil Rights Act, but then they've also gone into state courts and used all of our state courts. A lot of our state constitutions have very robust protections for right to vote. So what they've said, they've used that and tried to apply very, very heightened scrutiny, strict scrutiny in effect to any law that affects election integrity. And this gets really down into minutia of how elections are conducted. And, the things at issue in Montana were simple things like they outlawed paid ballot harvesting. They took same-day registration. You could register to vote on the same day that the election was held, and they moved it back one single day. And a couple other things with absentee ballots. But the court stepped in as a legislature and said, no, we don't think those are good laws. We think same-day registration is good. Therefore, moving it back one day is bad. And we're going to legislate and say, you got to keep it. So very disappointing. And they've tried this tactic in Kansas and other states as well. It's a spreading tactic they're using.
I think you hit it on the head when you said that they really legislated It is up to the legislature to legislate. It's up to the judiciary to determine whether or not it's constitutional, but it is not up to them to legislate from the bench. And that's what it appears to me. And it seems like this is common sense type legislation. All right, we don't have but just a moment or so left. But as we continue to see election integrity efforts leading into November, what else is in the works that we should be aware of?
A lot of things are coming up. The left continues to push ranked choice voting everywhere. Tomorrow in Wisconsin, there's a big election on Zuckerbucks for a constitutional amendment there. Got our fingers crossed that the voters in Wisconsin are going to do the right thing there. And the other thing is just keep watching these courts and keep making sure that they do the right thing. And, the Montana Supreme Court is an elected body. They need to know from their constituents that they're not a legislature, they're a court.
Well, Chad Ennis with Honest Elections Project, always great to talk with you, sir. We appreciate your expertise and what you bring to the table. We certainly hope Wisconsin tomorrow will do the right thing, and we also hope tomorrow each of you watching will grab a copy of Sacred Trust, Election Integrity, and the Will of the People. Chad, thank you for joining us. Look forward to talking to you again soon.